I designed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the black market. North
Black,
Tulsa.
brown. I am not prejudiced. Everybody needs a little bling.
Yeah, I know nothing about jewelry. My wife actually bought our jewelry set, or for our wedding set, and she got to pick it out. I didn't tell her price or anything. She bought it, and you know how much she paid for? Paid for my ring,
Come on.
her ring, and everything. $35 total for everything.
Wow.
I still have it. She replaced it. I told her I would have been happy keeping it out here, but my fingers got fat, and so
My fingers got fat.
yeah, the ring didn't expand.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cheap enough.
I was
thought
going
it
to
would.
say, normally you say my ring shrunk.
Yeah. No, my finger. I'm honest.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to
I
know.
mean, I've
you.
gained 30 pounds in the past 6 months.
So where in your neck does that all fit? I mean,
I don't know. It's in my boobs.
my chest.
It's all in my chest.
I hold it on my chest.
Yeah.
It's where I put all my weight.
Yeah. I try to keep it out of my stomach. That's why I tuck
No,
in
I'm taking care of that for you.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you got to be a friend.
Yeah. So, Danny, Patrick, I know you said you got into started a nonprofit. You want to explain that a little bit better to me?
Sure. For about 3 years, I worked with a nonprofit that loves on homeless people. On a weekly basis, we would go out and we would bring food, we'd bring drink, we'd bring clothing. Huge event. And then, the glorious COVID showed up and kind of put us on hold. Then it became available for us to just take the van out and go and bring things to encampments. All over Tulsa County, there are encampments of people that are either in tents or living in their cars or living on the street. And what we're able to do is to bring them something. In the spring of 20, we were able to get funding for a hotel, a full hotel, because nobody was staying at the hotels and they need rooms filled.
Yeah.
So we were able to secure funding and 3 meals a day, and we're able to take people off the streets and put them into a secure place and protect them. We have, there's a COVID wing, there's all these rooms. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
This group has done a tremendous job, because what they've done is, in these hotel situation, they built a community. 90% of the time when you have somebody that's homeless, these people have had a dramatic loss of family or dramatic loss of community. Yeah. So what this group does is it has rebuilt that. When I retired from the car business where I met you, I knew what I was supposed to do was to support with my time, with my energy, with anything that I could, whatever was working right to help homeless people in the Tulsa area. During February, we had these crazy low temperatures, and it became a life-threatening issue where we had to get people off the streets. So all of a sudden, we had this incredible shift where a lot more hotel rooms became available, more funding became available, and we were able to get almost 300 people off the street. Many have since been transitioned into homes and apartments and that kind of thing, but there is still a lot of people that are still out on the streets. So Ultimate Project, which is what I do, I work with a team of people, and we just literally support what's already working, and we also go out 3-4 times a week and we bring food.
Yeah.
The heart of the matter is that we can complain, or like you were talking about, have an opinion about homeless people in the area, or we can do something about it. I'm not real good at watching.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in the game, you know. I'd rather be on the offense, you know, pushing forward. And that's what this is about.
Nice. Basically the hands and feet.
You know, the heart of this has come from a revelation in several of us that people deserve to be known. I got a brother that's out here. It's called the Be Heard movement. And he does interviews with people, and he's got a trailer that has showers, and he honors people that have had their voice taken away, or they've personally given away their voice by becoming homeless. And so what he feels is giving them a voice back, whether it's to do an art show or to show a guy that's an incredible cook who just happens to be homeless. That's his pull. So we want to support that. We've got another guy that just goes out in areas, encampments, and just brings sandwiches, but he also brings it in a way so he's learning names, he's talking to people, he's trying to help people out. These are human beings.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that I'm going to kind of switch gears here for a second. There are those of us that say, but what about those, you know, those fake homeless people? You know, you find them at the end of a ramp off of a highway or something like that. Here's my answer to that. We know that there's people that make counterfeit money. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't stop using money because somebody's making counterfeit money. Don't we still use money?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because somebody's a counterfeit homeless person preying on people's pity doesn't mean that there aren't homeless people that are in desperate need, especially now. We are going to have thousands of soldiers come back from the war that we've been in for 20 years. Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have emotional issues. A lot of these guys are used to living on bases. Where are they going to be? They've seen stuff that's going to mess with their whole social and emotional place. Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
We got people in California right now. The homeless population has exploded. They're getting kicked out. Where are they going to go? What's happening is these numbers are increasing. And as they increase, and even as some of these hotels come to a point where they're going to go back to serving regular customers, I guess that's the way I want to term that.
Yeah.
What's our plan? Who's in place?
Yeah.
We have to stand up and say, you have value. We get mad. You know, I had a 19-year-old in the truck yesterday, and he's like, yeah, man, the government should be doing something for this. I said, well, in all honesty, it's the church's job. And I'm not talking about pointy buildings. I'm talking about the people.
Yeah.
Because either you stand up and believe what you say, you know, that the word says, these things you've seen me do, you will do in greater.
Yeah.
Either you buy that, or you're full of crap. I
had a guy the other day, he was trying to get one on me. I knew where he was going at it. He said, and he's not a Christian. And he said, you know, I really like that Jesus guy. He's like, he healed people for free, didn't he? I was like, yeah, he did. He said, that was awesome. He said, and then didn't he feed like hundreds? I was like, no, he fed 4,000 once and 5,000 another time.
Right.
He's like, and he didn't charge them at all, did he? He's like, no. He's like, and then he taught everybody with parables. And he didn't charge them to teach them. He taught them all free and made it the easiest way to teach them, right? I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. He's like, Jesus was a socialist. I was like, well, there's the problem. I was like, Jesus didn't work for the government. He was the church.
That's right.
I was like, and I firmly believe, if people would
Come
help
on.
people, it's not the government's job to make sure that we're taken care of. They're supposed to be there to make sure our rights are taken care of. We take care of each other.
I would totally agree with
And
that.
and I explained to him, I was like, I know there are some bad churches out there. I've seen some where it's just going to happen. I know
Sure.
some personally, and I'm not going to mention their names.
Thank you.
But my church, I go to Guts.
Yeah.
Every week they have Guts groceries.
Yeah.
They feed about 500 families every week.
Yeah.
They don't ask you
Nope.
what your income status is.
Nope.
They don't ask you anything. They just say, how many bags of groceries do you need?
Right.
That's it. Now, 90% of the people don't even say thank you, but they still do it.
Right.
Because you're not doing it to get a thank you. You're not doing it necessarily whether the person deserves it or not. You're doing it because who we are.
Sure.
I used to not give money at all. I wouldn't keep cash in my wallet because I didn't want to have cash to give it to somebody. Now I do the opposite.
Right.
I'll keep 20s in my pocket, and I don't give it to everybody. I get it when I just feel that calling. Usually the person isn't even asking me for money. And I found that when I do that, I always end up finding more money. Call it karma.
That's
call it law
weird.
of
So you're
attraction,
saying
call
you
it-
give away money and money keeps finding you?
Yep. I quit selling cars and I was making 80,000, I think was the last year I made. I made
Wow.
80 grand. I quit to make $15 an hour to start my company. And when I did, I actually moved into a bigger house. I have savings. I mean, it comes, and I'm not even making money off my company yet. I'm spending money, but somehow it just always ended up coming. I had faith. I've never had faith before. I mean, you know that. It's just
Sure.
wasn't my thing. But I just gave it away, and I was like, you know what? What can I lose? I've already lost everything.
Kind of flies in the face of what we were taught.
Yeah,
When we were
exactly.
kids.
I was, you want to make money, work hard, keep saving it.
Come on.
Don't spend it. Don't give it away. My aunt, if I wanted to borrow money, my aunt who raised me through part of high school, if I borrowed money, I had to sign a contract.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and
In a pen or in blood or
basically, yeah,
yeah, sure.
And so that's what I was taught, is that you hold on to it and you don't get gratuitous with anybody.
Wow.
And so I just felt wrong. It felt wrong. I couldn't explain it. It just felt like that's not the way it's supposed to be. Now,
Right.
You have to be cautious of people using you and taking advantage. There are people that take advantage of the system.
Totally.
There's going to be them people, and that doesn't mean you don't ever help them, but
No.
you limit it. Once it gets to the point where they're not trying, they're just wanting to live off of
Right.
you.
We're not meant to be a doormat.
No, but I mean, I believe in the hand up.
Well, it's kind of like your shirts. You and I have been friends for a long time. And when you started to talk about doing these shirts, we talked about that it was a revolution. And it wasn't a revolution in a government aspect. It was a revolution in a mindset of it's okay to be offending some people sometimes. It's okay to make people think a little bit differently. It's okay to take people to a place they haven't been. Because, the thing about when the Bible says ironing, sharpening iron, that means some of the iron's going to come off to make it sharper. So, I think about David quite a bit. Here's David. He's taking care of the sheep. All the guys are standing there. They're all stressed out. The army of the Philistines are right across the way. The big guy shows up. He says, I'm going to smoke you like a bad stogie. Bring me the biggest guy you got. This little redheaded kid comes up and goes, who's coming against God's people? He's coming against God. See, everybody didn't have that mindset. When you designed these shirts, it wasn't everybody's mindset. This vision that God gave you to stand out and make it real to people who didn't have real God in their life. They've been taught one way or taught by the talking heads another way. You decided, I'm going to listen to God, and I'm going to build these shirts. I'm going to put together a message that stretches people. And see, that's the same thing that David said. Who's coming against God?
No.
And then the big guy looks at him and says, I'm going to bury you. And he looks at him and says, David says, I'm going to take your head. Now, there was a size difference between the guys, but David had an I can't lose mentality that wasn't going to get changed by the size of the guy coming. It wasn't going to get changed by the amount of people behind the big guy. It was just an attitude. And see, this is what you've done with this. And it's also the same thing I've done with this homeless ministry. Whether it's a ministry or an outreach or a nonprofit or whatever we want to call it, none of that stuff matters. It's people standing up and not just watching the marble that we stand on turn.
Yeah.
Aggressively being alive. Do you remember in school they taught kinetic energy and potential energy?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? It's the same thing with Christianity. Some people, and I'm not going to call them counterfeit Christians. I'm not going to go to Judgment Village because that's not a zip code I want to live in.
I like saying karaoke Christian, but it's because it's funny.
What was it, the word you came up with the other day? Pharisaical?
Yeah, pharisaical Christians.
Pharisaical.
I like that word.
I do like
It's
that
pretty.
word. I think that's a new drink at Starbucks. You
Yeah.
get it in a venti.
Yeah, you have to wear skinny jeans and flat bill caps, though.
You do, yeah, and a belt that's really tiny.
And bedazzle your jeans.
Yeah, on the kneecaps.
Start listening to Luke Bryan.
It would work.
No offense, Luke Bryan.
Be quick.
Yeah.
Be quick. Don't hurt people's feelings. So when you made the T-shirts and you set up this thing, when I put this deal together for the homeless, it's basically like David just saying, I don't care. My don't give a crap meter is pegged. I got this much time left on this marble, and you're going to find me doing what I'm called to do. Yeah. That makes me dangerous, because the opposite of faith isn't doubt. That's wrong. Yeah. The opposite of faith or trust is apathy.
Yeah.
The things that you do with your company, the things that I do with this outreach are going to make people feel one of two ways. Really ticked off. How dare you? What, you're offensive with that.
Yeah.
Jesus is a bad driver? I mean, a badass? Wow. You know, you're really going to upset some people.
Yeah.
Me, hey man, you're working with these homeless people. They all want to be homeless. They all want to be miserable. They all want their teeth to fall out. They're making that decision every single day. Why are you wasting money? Why don't you go back to sitting there on your couch with a clicker? If your wife will let you have that clicker.
Yeah.
When we decide to be dangerous, there's a story and I know I keep going back to the treasure map called the Bible, but there's a story of the guys coming across the water, right? Jesus isn't in the boat. He comes walking across on the water. Now, they can't see him. You can't see him. But he speaks to him. And Pete says, hey, if that's you, tell me to come out of the boat. Pete's looking. come out of the boat. There's water. Listen, we're not in Minnesota. It's not frozen. I can't get out of this boat. Come out of the boat. Step out. Trust. When you left the car dealership that day, when you told me you were doing that, you got out of the boat, bro. Frank, after all the stuff that he knew how to steal cars, he knew how to deal drugs, he knew how to do that. Something happened to the brother. He got out of the boat. Now he gets to see his kids. He gets to go to football and watch them practice and play. The honor of his life. He gets to make music that people are going to get to hear because the brother got out of the boat. People that are watching this video, bro, they're all going to go, man, I want to get out of the boat. But how many buts have you heard when you started your company?
I don't usually listen to them.
That's a lot of but.
Yeah.
I cannot lie.
That was cheesy.
I'm thinking fromage. It's a French word for cheese.
Oh, okay.
We're upscale on this show. Bro, what else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I actually spoke to a couple of homeless people the other day. I get a call from somebody saying, hey, there's a couple of homeless people in the trash. And I go over there and I speak with them, and I talk to them for about an hour. And two totally different people. One woman, she was 33 years old. She invited me to one of the raves at the river, by the way. And she actually explained to me that she'd been homeless for 11 years since she was about 22, 23 years old, by choice. I got the feeling it wasn't, but it was one of them things that she saw the giant that everybody else sees.
Come on.
And it was too big.
Yeah.
It's always too big. And so she chose, it's easier to live like this. Yeah, she said it was horrible. You could tell she was attractive at one time. I mean, but she says crystal. She does meth. And her explanation, it gets her closer to God. And I was like, well, some people are willing to sacrifice 98% hell for that 2% of heaven. And she really tried explaining to me that her life was much better living the way she is. And she was trying to take a pallet out of the trash. She was going to build something for it. I told her, go ahead and take it. I don't care. Guy with her, though, he was technically not homeless. He said he'd been living in a hotel for about 5 years. His name's Sam. Great guy, very intelligent. Looks like he was in Vietnam or something, but pretty educated, pretty smart. But the giants were just too big. You know, the pressures of the world were great. And that's the problem, is people focus on that pressure.
Come on.
And it gets to them, you know, and I don't know how to look at that. I mean, because if you look at it, you're always going to lose. I mean, it's always going to be too big. And if you allow the weight of the world to push you down, you will always fall down. That's just the way it works.
Right.
But it's not about the weight of the world. It's about you're still walking. You're still getting up. You're still doing it. You know, when my back was paralyzed, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I didn't even think about my back was paralyzed.
Right.
I didn't think about my spinal cord being cut.
Come on.
And I wasn't even a Christian at the time. I didn't pray. I didn't talk. But God was there. He helps us all. He doesn't care. We're his children.
Yep.
You know, all I had to do is do it. Faith that, there's this old Japanese story about this guy who wanted to be this expert marksman.
Sure.
With a bow. And he went to this master, and he kept going to the master trying to get him to teach him. He said, no. And finally the master says, okay, I'll teach you how. He said, but on one condition. No matter what I say, you follow my orders to a T. No ifs, ands, or buts. Don't argue. You just do exactly what I say. So he kept on. I'm condensing this story, by the way, because it's like a 30-minute story. But he so he kept on practicing.
Check.
Yeah.
Please, can I get the check?
He kept on practicing stuff. He got to the point where he could shoot a gnat off a buffalo. I mean, from 50 yards. I mean, he was good. One day he comes up to the master. Now he's a master himself. So the guy's now a grandmaster, real old man. He said, I want you to hand me your bow and your arrow. He said, now I want you to forget that it even exists. Just walk away from it. And knowing what he'd promised, he quit. He didn't even pay attention to it. And years, generations go by. The old man walks up to now the other old man. This is back when they lived 500 years. I don't know. But he said, he hands him the bow and the arrow, and the guy looks at it. And he said, I want you to shoot that bird out of the sky. And the guy just looks up, and the bird falls. And the point of the story is you've got to be so confident and comfortable and have so much faith that you don't even think about it. It just happens.
Yeah.
And that's where people concentrate on doing it right. You're going to fail. I started this company knowing I was going to fail 1,000,000 times.
Right.
I said, it's not about how often I fail. It's about how big I fail and if I keep coming.
See, that's important right there.
And I wanted to try to fail as small as possible, but as much as possible. And I can't fail if I don't do anything.
What do they say that Walt Disney approached 300 banks that told him no before one bank in California said, sure, we'll back you for a park. You know how much money that bank made? See, when you and I were in sales, if you wanted to sell 20 cars, what was the number? You had to talk to 100 people.
Yeah.
If we want to see somebody's life get impacted, we may have to talk to 100 people to see 20 or less turn a life around. Because here's the thing, your picture changed. When they showed you a picture of you being an invalid, you turned the picture around. You changed the picture. You physically redrew the picture of you. And you wouldn't allow anything to change that picture. See, that is really the deal with homeless people. Because their picture sometimes is so distorted, my goal is this. It's not just to give them a sandwich. It's not just to give them this or give them that. It is to open the door for me to hopefully start speaking to their picture. And one of the things that I say to them is, where you are is not who you are. It's not who you are. Where you are is locational. It's where you are. Who you are is the picture you draw right now. Because at some point, you're going to be with me handing out food, because that's really who you are. Your picture's just distorted right now. There's this wall up in front of you that you feel like is 100 miles wide, 100 feet tall, 50 feet thick, can't get through. But see, the person that you are 5 years from now, 3 years from now, is hoping that we fight for that picture, fight to fix that picture. These shirts are about changing people's picture. What sacred cow do I need to get out of my life so that I can fix my picture? That's what a real homeless ministry looks like. That's what your t-shirt company is about. That's what Frank's ministry is about, because people think I'm an addict. It's all I got. It's my picture. But Frank, because he's redrawn the picture in his heart of who he is physically trying to help other people redraw that picture. I talk about being dangerous. Bro, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
How much time do we have left?
About 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, I keep track. That's why I look over your shoulder a lot.
Wow. I thought it was dandruff.
I
I did just get my hair cut.
You've got
I had
so
to.
many old
My
man
daughter's
jokes.
working on me. She said, "Man, that's a lot of gray." I said, "That's a lot of shoe polish."
Yeah.
It really is. It's a white sneaker shoe polish you put in.
I never had a single gray hair until my daughter was born.
I remember that day. That really changed you.
People had told me, and I did not understand it. People had told me that your life becomes so much more stressful. I thought it was something else. I thought they were talking about you become busy, you become trying
Nope.
Everything scares the piss out of me.
Yes.
Everything. I can't, I get mad if my wife and daughter leave and they
Right.
don't tell me.
Right.
And I don't know where they're at.
Right.
I had her download an app so I know where she is if she can't.
Don't worry. That's not controlling.
No, not at all.
Don't worry about it.
She has to call, check in every 15 minutes. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to have a drink while you go ahead and just fix that.
Yeah. No, but she, it's funny. She does the same thing. She actually looks at it more than I do. I was selling cars one day, and I was across the street at that neighborhood, and she texted me and she said, "What are you doing over there?" And I called her, and I'm sitting right next to the girl that I was like, "Honey," I was like, "I'm literally with my girlfriend right now. I told you don't call me when I'm busy." And then I just hung up on her.
Yeah.
It was a friend of mine. I actually sold this friend of mine several cars. We went to college together,
Yeah.
but it was hilarious. But I've been trying to make
That's
her
okay.
jealous.
Keep
my whole
talking
life.
that stuff. Your wife knows where you sleep and
I
where
know,
the frying
right?
pans are.
I
You better stop sleeping.
But anyway, but I found it when my daughter was born. I mean, yeah, and it doesn't help because my previous experience as a cop. I mean, I've seen more baby deaths than I've seen anything.
I don't know how you kept your heart rate, bro.
And it was,
Did you have to isolate?
I think that's where having Asperger's helped me out the most.
Oh,
is like compartmentalize.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it was just I was doing what I had to do to make things better right then. It didn't matter what was going on. This is my job. And my very last one was actually a 10-month-old. And what made it hard was the father was a younger kid, and he wasn't. If my daughter at that time I didn't have kids at all.
Right.
But I knew if my daughter or his son was in the ambulance, I'm right there with him.
Right.
He was on the other side of the trailer sitting down smoking a cigarette. The baby had been dead for, an hour
That wouldn't have mattered to you. I mean,
in bed. And so I'm sitting there, I'm
you
in
and I
the
would have been in that
ambulance,
truck.
and I'm giving CPR to this baby, and I just won't stop.
Right.
And my sergeant's yelling at me to get me out of the ambulance. I
Sure.
won't stop because the EMS guy that's in there, he's an older guy. His hands are like this, just shaking.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't stop because I know you don't stop. It has to be fluid whenever we transition, but it
Yeah.
wasn't going to be because he wouldn't calm down. And that's
Right.
why it's so, I don't freak out. I don't have that freak out, and I think that was the most, a lot of people think Asperger's is a mental issue. It's, I try not to talk about it much because
I like the way you put that. You compartmentalize.
yeah, it just makes it where I'm able to, it was a long time. I mean, it took me a while to hone it in. I mean, because I didn't know how to understand emotions, stuff like that. But once I started learning the way emotions work,
Right.
I will separate them and I'll actually think through the emotion because most bad things happen because of emotional thinking,
I would agree with that.
including homelessness.
So you react instead of respond.
Yeah. People that are homeless, I realized that it was an emotional thought process that got them there.
A lot.
They gave up. Some of them's
They
mental
felt
issue.
like a victim.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, you make yourself a victim. Nobody makes you a victim.
Come on.
And the world's full of victims. Do you want to be a victim? And I hate to be cheesy, or do you want to be a victor?
You changed so much when your baby was born. I know that because of your deal, you compartmentalize. Yeah?
Yeah.
There was no room there wasn't enough compartments in you to deal with what happened when your baby showed up.
Yeah.
It was a whole different finding out about you. You just changed. And it was the greatest thing in the world because, up until that point, there was safety in how you dealt with things. When you have a daughter, bro, you're every single thing that comes down the road. Are we pausing?
No.
Okay.
It's good
Well,
microphones.
my ride is here.
Yeah.
Choo Choo Willie is outside. He's a really useful engine.
I usually hang out with younger people, and I'm used to being the one with the old man jokes, but I think you've told like a dozen of them so far.
Well, listen, when you have a chin collection, and you're looking across the table at one of your best friends, you're going to say a bunch of stuff, and it really doesn't matter. Because, the guy next to us, he's going to edit half that crap out.
Yeah,
It won't matter. It won't matter. I'm over here blowing my nose into my hand, and Mike's going, oh, yeah, we're keeping that. The Myron's doing it again.
Yeah.
Listen, here's the push. You started this podcast because you're reaching out. You and Frank, the things that you guys talk about, you're smoking apathy left and right, and you're giving people hope. People with Asperger's that need hope that they can be on the other side. Here's a guy with Asperger's doing a podcast. Who the heck figured that one out? You got a guy who was in prison, not just once, but a couple times, that is standing up in front of everybody and saying, you know what, I can have Jesus in my life. I can turn my life around. Here's the thing about this podcast, and one of the things that I'm so proud about the way you guys do this. You are both so transparent with your own stuff that it's helping people. We got a guy that's doing the podcast that knows for a fact that out of all the things that he's doing, he may have this, commercial thing, this rug company. They're all great things going on. But he's got this one podcast that he does that is actually going to make change in people's lives. How do you think that feels for a guy? How do you think it feels for a guy that goes to school for all this work to make production work, and all of a sudden somebody steps up and says, we're going to do a podcast, and yeah, it's going to be funny, it's going to be, crazy back and forth, there'll be some great cussing that you can bleep and all that, but you're going to be able to know that some of your work is actually changing people's lives. In a person's life, you got 80 to 90 years, maybe more. Nobody gets out alive, right? What is it they say the leading cause of death is?
Birth. Like the leading cause of divorce, marriage.
So here you're doing this podcast, you're reaching out. There'll be bits and pieces that he's able to clip out and say, there's a piece of the pie that'll work. This will, go on Instagram, and this will go on, whatever else that they call that stuff. Josh, you and your company, it's more than just a bunch of T-shirts. You only have so much time on the marble. The inheritance that this company and this podcast is leaving is immense. Well, what about the viewership now? Who cares? Because it's going to be around a long time, and people are going to stumble on it, and they're going to find it. And they're going to go, wow, hey, man, that's real. Those guys aren't actors. He ain't wearing makeup. The old guy probably should.
I think everybody that talks in your head smokes pot. Because you always make this guy, like this guy that's been smoking pot. Hey, man.
Yeah, well, you remember Taxi?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That
Barely.
guy.
That was, in the 80s, and I was born in 1980.
Yeah.
About 50 years.
So there was
after
this
you.
show called Taxi, and there was this guy, and he had obviously smoked a few too many, and he would just come at it like that. A guy
Yeah.
by the name of Christopher Lloyd was the actor.
Yeah.
I got to meet him years ago in New England. Really incredible actor. But his whole thing was, hey, bro. Hey, man. What's going on? Yeah. And so I do go into voices like that sometimes because to me, my greatest weapon is my sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because it cuts right through all the crap. And because we only have so much time on the marble, you got to spend it wisely. You got to make people have a great time. You got to, if they know you're a Christian, a real Christian, not a counterfeit Christian, not a potential Christian, but a kinetic Christian, one in motion, you got to use everything in your wheelhouse, everything in your tool bag to be the person you want to be, the dad to your kids, the husband to your wife, the brother to your friends. You got to be that guy that grabs life by the throat and makes it give you every single thing.
No.
Because fear is a time waster. Do you remember that one scripture? He says, the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a Christian, you believe you're going to heaven, right?
Yeah.
So he can't steal that. So what can he steal? Moments of time and worry and fear and stress. Because the problem that comes against you and me, it's not eternal. We are. Our kids are. Our wives are. The people that we love on are. Mike is. Eternal. And we're talking thousands of years. Thousands. So why are we stressed about this life? Money?
In 1997, I made a decision. I was scared of everything. I was a 17-year-old kid. My aunt and uncle told me I was not allowed to be with this girl that I was dating. I'd been dating her for 2 years. Then suddenly I'm not allowed to.
Wow.
And if you know me, you know I don't like being told no, that I can't do something.
I know you.
But I was scared of everything, super scared of confrontation. I got nervous. I couldn't talk to people. But I swore to myself I would never allow my fear to get in the way with progress. I wouldn't allow it to stop me from getting to the next part because everything made me uncomfortable. And I knew that greatness lies on the other side of uncomfortable.
Say that again.
Greatness lies on the other side of uncomfortable. And so I did what I probably shouldn't have done. I asked for permission to move. My brother got kicked out of the house. My sister ran away. I actually asked for permission to leave. They said no, but they knew me pretty well.
Yeah.
And a week later, he says, pack your stuff into a garbage bag. That's all you're taking. You don't even get a car. So I couldn't even take my car with me. And he drops me off in Eufaula, and I went to school in Shakota. But I had a friend that had a house in Eufaula, and which lasted 2 weeks, and I ended up homeless. I found out my aunt and uncle actually, they tell my wife that they thought that I would come back. They set me up to fail, but I didn't come back because I didn't It's not that I didn't plan on failing. I didn't even think of it. It didn't exist.
Right.
I didn't allow the fear to get me, and it has pushed me through everything. Even this podcast, I've told you, I get scared to death every single time before a podcast starts. I don't like being there in front of everybody. I don't like this little thing staring at me constantly. I just want to punch it in the face. No offense.
Doesn't have a face.
But
It's a lens, bro.
I don't like being stared at. But but I keep on. I do it anyway. I just do it anyway. Even if it's not about being. I tell my son, I don't care if you're scared. Be scared. Do it anyway.
We talk about your boy for a second?
Yeah, we're
How
gonna
many?
get off here in a second, though.
Okay. So I'm
Do
sitting
you mind
there.
if we have a couple more minutes? Okay.
So
Get my minutes back from that train.
we talk.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
We were talking. I was there for an oil change. I was at the car dealership, and I'm sitting there talking with your bride, and your baby girl's running around. She's a black belt and cute. And I'm talking with your boy, and he's drawing pictures, and he says, "Here, let me show you what I'm working on." He's how old?
10.
And he's whipping out pictures of what a soldier's helmet looks like with it on and that whole thing. And I watched right in front of me that this kid knows who he is because of a guy that stepped up and said, "I will be your dad." Fear didn't keep him from doing that. He stood up and he said, "I want to be like my dad," because he's not afraid of anything. We look at our children, we see whatever we see. But as a parent, what we need to do is give our inheritance to our kids. And it's not money, it's not property. It's a great picture of who you are. I know we got to end this thing, so.
Yeah. We're not Joe Rogan status yet. We can't do 3 hours.
Sorry. Well, I'm just going to tell you, I've already subscribed to this channel. You need to subscribe to Mike's channel. This is one of the best guys walking on the planet. Mike does great work. If you need production work, you need to get a hold of this cat. He's ridiculous. Everything he does is clean. The people that work here, you walk in, you can sell whatever you got. Buy the t-shirts. Make an impact. Get to know this guy, Josh. He's worth knowing.